light of creation still hovered over the earth, but in the shadows, something was stirring. The earth was perfect, untouched. Man walked with the Most High, but all it took was a whisper, a choice. And everything changed for eternity. And when man fell, the world fell with him. Angels broke their vows. Giants walked upon humanity. Corruption spread like fire, and the earth groaned under the weight of sin. Then God spoke, and when God speaks, creation trembles. This is the story of a world before the flood, and how nearly everything was destroyed. In the beginning, the world was a place of incomparable beauty. The newly created earth knew no pain, no war, and no death. Mountains rose in majesty. The seas danced at the breath of the wind, and the heavens seemed to sing. Animals lived in perfect harmony, and the breeze of the garden carried the fragrance of eternity. God walked with man. It was the beginning of existence. Adam gazed at the glow of the morning light as it passed through the leaves of Eden, and Eve smiled as she watched the animals approach her with trust. "Was all of this given to us?" she whispered, her eyes filled with tears. Adam answered with reverence, "We were not only created, we were loved." But a different sound echoed among the trees, the whisper of doubt. The serpent, beautiful and radiant, introduced the first thought of separation. And then came the choice. And the choice brought the fall. Eden, once a home, became a memory. Adam and Eve left the garden covered in shame and longing. A flaming sword was placed at the entrance, and with it came the separation between heaven and earth. And when Eve gave birth to her first son, Cain, there were tears in her eyes and pain in her womb. It was the beginning of humanity, but also the beginning of suffering. Cain grew proud and distant. Abel, his brother, was humble and devoted. "To the Lord, I will offer the best of my flock," Abel would say. Cain, with bitterness, would reply, "The fruit of the ground also has value." When God favored Abel but rejected Cain's offering, envy became poison, and the field became a grave. The blood of the righteous cried out from the earth, and the face of God seemed hidden for a moment. Cain, now a wanderer, left behind his mother's eyes and his father's silence. But life continued. Seth was born, and through him came a lineage that still sought the Creator. Men lived for centuries. Births and deaths became like waves in an ocean of time. Knowledge grew. Tents were raised. Animals were domesticated. Metals were shaped. And melodies were played on the first harps and flutes. Civilization rose with intense speed. Fertile plains became dwellings. Tribes became cities. Men gave names to the winds, carved images, built altars. But few were those who called upon the name of the Lord. And among them arose a man named Lamech, a descendant of Cain, a man with a sharp tongue and a violent fist. "I have killed a man for wounding me. If Cain's mark demands vengeance sevenfold, mine shall demand 77-fold." It was a time of innovation, but also of pride. Jabal, the father of those who lived in tents and raised livestock. Jubal, master of melodies, made flutes from bone and harps from plant fibers. Tubal-Cain, the blacksmith, forged spears and swords from newly discovered metals. Art and war were born together. Beauty and destruction walked side by side. The cities grew and leaders became rulers. Palaces of rough stone rose in the valleys. Feasts, sacrifices, and altars dominated daily life. But from above, the Lord saw the distance between himself and man growing wider. Faith gave way to power. The pursuit of the divine gave room to the exaltation of one's own name. But not everything was lost. In the days of Enoch, men began once again to call upon the Lord. There was still hope. Amid the growing corruption, sparks of faith endured like embers in the darkness. Creation, however, already carried the weight of human choice. The trees seemed less vibrant, the skies less clear, the animals more distrustful, and the earth restless. And then came the whispers. Ancient accounts spoke of celestial beings who descended to earth, the Watchers. Their presence awakened awe and fear. Men called them gods, women called them saviors, and after their arrival, the world would never be the same. They came from above, but their eyes desired the earth. The Watchers, angels appointed to observe humanity, crossed the boundaries of their mission. "Look how beautiful the daughters of men are," they murmured among themselves, wrapped in sacred light, now corrupted by desire. On the heights of Mount Hermon, they made a pact. 200 of them swore never to return without first taking human women as wives, and so they descended. They were received as gods. Their garments shone. Their voices were like soft thunder. Their eyes pierced the soul. The women desired them. The men feared them. And the children born from these unions were not ordinary. They grew in stature, strength, and arrogance. They were the Nephilim, the giants, the mighty men of renown, the first tyrants. The cities began to raise statues in their honor. Their names were whispered with reverence and fear. But something was deeply wrong. They did not age like men. Their hunger was insatiable. First, they consumed the grain, then the livestock. When there was no food left, they turned against humans themselves. The fertile plains became fields of slavery. The Nephilim demanded tribute in blood. The Watchers, now corrupted, taught sorcery, astrology, enchantments, genetic manipulation, hallucinogenic herbs, and weapons of war. The sky began to darken. Azazel, one of their leaders, taught men how to forge swords, shields, and armor. He taught women how to seduce, paint their eyes, and summon the elements. Knowledge is power, and power is dominion. War became an art. Lust became religion. Blood flowed over the stones like wine. In the midst of this collapsing world, a new race of creatures emerged. Hybrids, abominations, mixtures of beasts and men, winged serpents, men with eyes of fire and skin of iron, women with voices that drove others mad. Creation was being violated, and the heavens watched in silence. But not everyone was silent. One man walked with God. His name was Enoch, a descendant of Seth. He refused to accept the direction the earth was taking. His eyes could see beyond the veil. His dreams were prophetic. In a vision, he saw the throne of God and heard, "Go and proclaim the judgment that is coming." Enoch stood before the crowds and cried out, "The Most High sees, nothing is hidden. The Watchers will be judged. The giants will fall. The earth will be washed by waters never seen before." But they mocked him. They laughed at his words. They tried to silence him. But Enoch was not afraid. He wrote everything on scrolls of stone and hide. His record spoke of portals, celestial spheres, angelic ranks, and the day of the great judgment. Then, one day, Enoch disappeared. He was no longer seen among men. They said God had taken him to himself. Enoch's absence deepened the darkness. Without warning, without limits, the Watchers continued their works. The forests began to wither. The ground trembled. The stars seemed less bright. Nature itself groaned under the weight of corruption. The cry of the earth rose up to the heavens, and the Most High summoned his holy angels. What has been done cannot continue. The Watchers will be chained. Their children will be wiped out, and the earth will be purified. The archangel Uriel was sent to Enoch, already among the heavens, to record the sentence of the fallen angels. Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel prepared to carry out the judgment. But on earth, corruption continued to spread. Men built towers to touch the heavens. Women offered their children in rituals to the Nephilim. Innocent blood cried out from the ground. And while the watchers taught the art of controlling the elements, the world burned with magic, cruelty, and darkness. The nights were no longer silent. In the wind, screams could be heard. In the ground, there were cracks. In the skies, lightning danced without thunder. It was as if all creation knew. Something was approaching, something terrible, an ancient judgment promised since distant times. And in the midst of the chaos, one lineage still resisted. The descendants of Seth, though weakened, preserved the memory of the Creator. They waited, prayed, and taught their children that not everything was lost. Among them was a quiet man, righteous and hard-working. While others lost themselves in orgies and violence, he walked among the trees and listened to the voice of the wind. His name was Noah. Noah worked the land with calloused hands and a calm gaze. Men mocked him, calling him outdated, a dreamer. But Noah carried a secret that did not come from men. He heard the voice of God. When he walked through the fields, he felt the presence of the Most High, like a gentle wind among the leaves. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, learned from him to fear the Lord, even in the midst of the most corrupted generation that had ever lived on earth. One night, the sky opened. The darkness shimmered with colors humanity had never seen before. A presence surrounded Noah, and a voice like thunder spoke to his spirit. The end of all flesh has come before me. The earth is filled with violence. Make for yourself an ark of strong wood. Noah fell to his knees, trembling. Lord, how will this be? And the voice continued, I will give you the measurements. With you, I will establish my covenant. The next morning, Noah gathered his family and spoke firmly. God has spoken to me. Judgment will come in the form of waters. We must build an ark. His sons looked at him in silence. Shem was the first to speak. If the Lord has spoken, we will obey. And so the work began. The wood was cut. The sound of axes echoed through valleys that had never known rain. The people of the cities laughed as they passed by. Look at the madman building a ship where there is no sea. Noah did not answer. Sweat ran down his face as he fitted beam upon beam. He was moved by faith. Meanwhile, the Nephilim ruled the cities with an iron fist. Men were forced to fight one another for entertainment. Children were handed over to rituals. The Watchers, now deformed in their very essence, lived in palaces built by slaves. The light that once radiated from them had been replaced by dense darkness. But the angels of heaven were also moving. Michael received the command to attack the Nephilim. With heavenly fury, he descended like a flaming storm, accompanied by hosts armed with swords of light. Heaven and earth trembled. The giants fell in colossal battles. Their voices shook the valleys. The earth opened cracks to swallow their bodies. The Watchers were chained and cast into the depths where eternal darkness awaited them. And Noah continued. The ark rose like a wooden fortress in the middle of the plain. 3 levels, hundreds of compartments, a home for the living. God sent the animals in pairs, guided by an invisible instinct. Lions walked side by side with lambs. Eagles landed beside doves. The impossible became reality before the eyes of men, and still they did not believe. The feasts continued. The orgies increased. The name of God became a reason for mockery. Noah preached as he hammered, "Repent, there is still time." But laughter was the only answer. Women danced among the fires. Men chanted songs of worship to the Nephilim, even as the heavens announced chaos. Signs began to appear. The moon turned red. Wild animals fled from the forests. Opposing winds blew from the east and the west at the same time. A fine rain fell in regions where it had never rained before. The ground trembled beneath their feet. Still, The human heart remained hardened. And then came the seventh day. The ark was ready. God spoke again, "Enter the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." Noah silently gathered his family. One by one they entered the great vessel. At last he looked toward the horizon. A shout echoed in the distance. "Coward, come celebrate with us." Noah answered only with a look of sorrow. And then something supernatural happened. The door of the ark closed by itself. A deep roar shook the valley. The mockers fell silent. A bird crossed the sky without a sound. Thunder rumbled, but there was still no rain. Inside the ark, Noah remained silent, holding his breath. The wooden beams creaked softly. Outside, a strange silence hung in the air. The people were still laughing, but doubt had entered their eyes. "Where is the prophet's flood?" they said to one another. But the sky no longer smiled, and the first drops, small, heavy, touched the dry earth. The first one fell upon the cracked dust like a warning, then another, and another. The crowd fell silent. Children ran for shelter. Men looked up at the sky with suspicion. The wind grew stronger. The clouds swirled in patterns that looked like colossal eyes. And then, as if the firmament itself had been torn open, the floodgates of heaven opened. Water fell with fury. It was no ordinary rain. It was a dense, living torrent that seemed to descend in wrath. Lightning tore across the skies like spears. The earth trembled, and from the ground, violent jets of water began to burst forth, splitting the earth into deep veins. It was as if creation itself were being undone. Inside the ark, Noah prayed in silence. The wood trembled, but it held firm. The animals, restless and terrified, roared and cried out in desperation. The drops became waves. The puddles became rivers. The roads disappeared. The houses collapsed. The cities were swallowed. Outside the ark, panic took hold. Those who had mocked now ran in despair. "Noah, open up, let us in!" They screamed, pounding against the thick wood. But the door had been sealed by God himself. No human strength could open it. "Forgive us, we believe now." But it was too late. The waters rose with relentless speed. Ancient trees fell like fragile branches. Towers built in honor of the Nephilim crumbled like sand. The mountains began to disappear beneath the veil of waters. The cries of men mixed with the roar of the flood and the thunder of divine wrath. The giants, once considered gods, tried to resist with brutal force. They tried to hold back the currents, but the waters covered everything. One of them, with a desperate voice, shouted, "We are eternal!" And the waves swallowed him, silencing his arrogance forever. The altars of the watchers were ripped from the earth. The statues collapsed. The inscriptions disappeared. Profane knowledge, lust, sorcery, everything was submerged. The earth was being washed with tears and judgment. The justice of God, ignored for generations, now fell like an avalanche. Inside the ark, Noah held his wife. Ham firmly gripped Japheth's shoulders. Shem looked up at the ceiling, murmuring, "Father, God has fulfilled his word." And Noah answered with a trembling voice, "Yes, but my heart bleeds for them." Outside, the sound of destruction was deafening. For 40 days and 40 nights, the waters did not cease. Each day they rose higher. Each night, the darkness grew thicker. Thunder roared like celestial beasts. Lightning cut across the heavens like swords in battle. The earth, once alive, now seemed to mourn. There were no more cities, no more music, no more celebrations. The watchers were chained in abysses of darkness. The Nephilim lay at the bottom of chaos. Humanity had been reduced to a single family. A remnant surrounded by wood, faith, and hope. The waters rose above the highest mountains. Ararat, Sinai, every peak was swallowed, and the world fell silent. There were no more screams, no more war, only the sound of the wind, the rain, and the ark floating in the midst of nothingness. Inside, days blended into nights. The sounds of the animals filled the interior, but the silence among the humans was even greater. Time seemed to have stopped. How many could still be alive? Ham asked in a whisper. Noah answered, none. And a tear ran down his face. On the surface of the water, logs drifted, torn garments, fragments of buildings. It was the cemetery of the ancient world. What had once been dominion was now ruin. The eagles no longer flew. The wild beasts lay lifeless. Human pride had sunk, but God had not forgotten his promise. Above the clouds, the light still shone. The angels watched the ark with reverence. What had survived inside was not merely flesh. It was the hope of a new beginning. Then the waters began to lose their fury. The roar of the rain became a murmur. The thunder grew distant. The clouds began to break apart, and far away, a ray of sunlight pierced through the mist. It was the first beam of light in days. The earth, though submerged, still existed. The ark floated solemnly, like a testimony between two worlds. The ancient world had been judged, and now a new time was being born upon the waters. But they still had to wait. The sun rose again timidly over a silent world. Noah's ark floated majestically upon the waters that covered the entire earth. Inside, surrounded by dim light and the sound of the sea, Noah held on to faith as days turned into months. When the rain ceased, the sky opened. A pure breeze entered the ark. Noah released a raven, then a dove, and it was an olive branch that brought hope. With reverence, Noah thanked God. The waters receded, mountains emerged, and the ark came to rest on Mount Ararat. Then God spoke, "Come out of the ark and be fruitful." The door opened, and light flooded the interior like a blessing. The animals came out free. At last, Noah stepped onto the ground, and in silence, he built an altar to the God who judges, but also restores. The sacrifice rose to the heavens, and God moved, promised, "Never again will I destroy all flesh. As long as the earth remains, there will be seed time and harvest." As the seal of that covenant, a rainbow shone across the heavens, and Japheth asked, "Is it a covenant?" And Noah answered, "Yes, between heaven and earth." The earth, though wounded, began to bloom again. Sprouts appeared among the wet stones. Birds sang. Rivers carved new paths. Life began again. Noah's sons worked. Their wives gathered roots. And the cold nights now carried stories and hope. Noah knew that evil still lived in the heart of man, but he also knew that God's love was greater. The ancient world, corrupted by giants and rebellious angels, had been buried beneath the waters. A new world was born, and with it, an eternal truth. The earth can be washed, but the heart of man still needs to be transformed.